I'm so much like him. So how could I ever be mad at him? I am him. At 40, Ozzy Osbourne's daughter is facing the kind of pain that no spotlight can shield. She broke down in tears, and her words have shaken fans to the core. These aren't just emotional reflections. They point to something far more tragic unfolding behind closed doors. What really happened during Ozzy's final days? And why is his daughter speaking out now? The Prince of Darkness may have been larger than life, but what's happening now is heartbreakingly human. Stay with us, because this emotional turn reveals a truth that cuts far deeper than fame, music, or legacy. From Birmingham to the world, John Michael Ozzy Osbourne was born on December 3, 1948, in the industrial town of Aston, Birmingham. His early life was marked by hardship. With 6 siblings, a factory worker father, and a stay-at-home mother, money was always tight. The neighborhood was gray, the air thick with factory smoke, and opportunities were few. But what Ozzy lacked in wealth, he made up for in imagination and volume. From an early age, he showed a fascination with music, inspired by the Beatles and British blues rock. He struggled in school, dealt with undiagnosed dyslexia, and found himself constantly in trouble, even spending time in prison for petty theft. Despite the rocky start, music gave him direction. In 1968, he joined forces with guitarist Tony Iommi, bassist Geezer Butler, and drummer Bill Ward to form a band that would soon rename itself Black Sabbath. The name change came after the group noticed people lining up to watch a horror film of the same name, and an idea clicked. Why not create music that sounded like horror? That question became the foundation of a genre. Black Sabbath's self-titled debut album, released in 1970, was unlike anything else at the time. The opening title track, with its ominous bell toll and slow, crushing guitar riff, introduced listeners to something dark and unfamiliar. Critics were unsure, but fans knew instantly. This was something new. With Ozzy's distinct, almost haunted vocals, the band carved out a space no one else occupied. Songs like Iron Man and Paranoid became anthems not just for a new style of music, but for a generation that felt misunderstood. By the early 1970s, Black Sabbath had become one of the biggest rock acts in the world. Their heavy sound, gloomy, aggressive, and slow, stood in sharp contrast to the psychedelic rock dominating the charts. Ozzy, often shirtless and wide-eyed on stage, became a symbol of raw energy. But behind the scenes, things were falling apart. Success brought drugs, alcohol, and inner conflict. The band's unity began to crack, and in 1979, Ozzy was fired from Black Sabbath, largely due to his substance abuse and erratic behavior. Rather than fade into obscurity, Ozzy did something few expected. He started over. It was a gamble, but it paid off. With the help of Sharon Arden, the daughter of his then manager, and later his wife, Ozzy launched a solo career that quickly took off. His first solo album, Blizzard of Oz, featured the now iconic guitarist Randy Rhoads and hit songs like Crazy Train and Mr. Crowley. The album went multi-platinum and proved Ozzy wasn't just the voice of Black Sabbath, he was a force on his own. During this time, Ozzy's reputation as the Prince of Darkness grew. The infamous bat incident in 1982 cemented his place in rock folklore. While shocking, it also made Ozzy into something more than a rock star. He was now a living legend. But it wasn't just the stunts that kept him in the spotlight. Ozzy's music continued to evolve, and his ability to blend darkness with vulnerability made him both terrifying and strangely relatable. His influence extended far beyond music. Artists across genres, from metal to hip-hop, cited him as an inspiration. Fans around the world connected not just with his sound, but with his honesty. Ozzy never pretended to be a perfect man. He was messy, broken, funny, and flawed. Someone who had seen both heaven and hell, and lived to tell the tale. By the late 1990s, Ozzy had already secured his place in rock history. He had sold millions of records, weathered personal and professional storms, and become a household name. But it was the next chapter, the one involving his family, that would introduce him to an entirely new generation. Before that happened, though, the world had to understand where Ozzy came from. Birmingham might not have seemed like the starting point of a global legacy, but it shaped every note he sang. The factories, the cold streets, the lack of opportunity, they all built the voice that roared across decades. Ozzy's rise from a small industrial town to global stardom wasn't polished or predictable. It was rough, chaotic, and entirely his own. Chaos, fame, and reinvention. After being fired from Black Sabbath, many believed Ozzy's career was over. His addiction was spiraling, and his mental health was deteriorating. Isolated and broken, he reportedly spent days in a hotel room drinking and taking drugs, unsure of what would come next. But Ozzy's story didn't end there. This was where it began a new chapter. Sharon stepped in during this dark period. She believed in Ozzy's talent when almost no one else did. With Sharon managing his career and standing by his side, Ozzy found the strength to launch a solo act that would not only revive his career, but transform him into an icon beyond anything he had achieved with Black Sabbath. However, the chaos never truly disappeared. Just as things were reaching a high point, tragedy struck. In 1982, Randy Rhoads was killed in a freak plane crash while on tour in Florida. He was just 25. Ozzy was devastated. He later said Randy's death broke his heart in a way nothing else ever had. Despite the grief, Ozzy pushed on, releasing more albums and continuing to tour. Over the years, he collaborated with talented guitarists like Jakey Lee and Zakk Wylde, each helping to shape the sound of his evolving solo work. While his music kept Ozzy in the public eye, his unpredictable behavior became just as well known. On stage, he was wild and energetic. Offstage, he was erratic and controversial. The 1980s and 1990s were marked by legal trouble and bizarre headlines. And yet, through all the chaos, Sharon remained by his side. Their relationship was intense, both professionally and personally. The two married in 1982 and had 3 children together, Amy, Kelly, and Jack. Sharon was not just his wife. She was the reason he stayed alive, the person who kept his career on track and, at times, dragged him through rehab and back onto the stage. Their dynamic wasn't always easy, but it was undeniably powerful. The 1990s saw Ozzy mellowing slightly. He released more albums, headlined Ozzfest, a touring festival Sharon created, and slowly transitioned from being just a wild rocker to a seasoned veteran of the industry. Ozzfest became a staple in the metal world and introduced new generations to Ozzy's influence. It was also a business move that kept him relevant in a rapidly changing musical landscape. What made Ozzy stand out during this phase wasn't just his music, it was his ability to reinvent himself. He was no longer just the Prince of Darkness. He was also a husband, a father, and a survivor. Fans loved him not just for his hits, but for his honesty, vulnerability, and raw emotion. He didn't hide his struggles. In interviews, he openly spoke about his addiction, mental health battles, and near-death experiences. He never tried to appear polished or untouchable. If anything, it was his flaws that made him relatable. By the late 1990s, Ozzy's world was shifting once again, this time in a direction no one expected. With the rise of reality TV, The Osbournes were about to go from rock royalty to household names in a completely new way. Cameras would follow them inside their mansion, capturing the dysfunction, the laughter, the chaos, and the heart. But before that next chapter began, Ozzy had already built a second empire on his own. His solo career had spanned decades, produced platinum albums, and helped redefine metal. He had reinvented himself, weathered unimaginable personal losses, and managed to stay standing despite everything working against him. The chaos never fully left, but it had become a part of his legend, just another layer in the story of a man who kept moving forward no matter what. The Osbourne era. In the early 2000s, the Osbourne family found themselves on an unexpected stage, not just in concert arenas, but in living rooms across the world. The reality show The Osbournes, which aired on MTV starting in 2002, offered a rare glimpse into the daily life of Ozzy, Sharon, and their children. It was messy, loud, and often hilarious, but also deeply revealing. For decades, Ozzy had been known as the wild, unpredictable rock star. The show peeled back the layers to reveal a different side: a father struggling to keep his family together, a husband managing chaos, and a man trying to find normalcy amid the insanity of fame. The Osbournes were far from perfect. Arguments, outbursts, and awkward moments were all caught on camera, but that honesty was part of the show's massive appeal. At the center of this family storm was Kelly Osbourne. Born in 1984, Kelly grew up constantly in the public eye, first as a child of a famous musician, then as a star of her own. On the show, Kelly's unique personality shone through: rebellious yet vulnerable, outspoken but sensitive. The close bond between Kelly and Ozzy was unmistakable, often showing warmth beneath their bickering. Their shared love for music was another thread that tied them together. Kelly's musical journey began to take shape around this time as well. Influenced by her father, she pursued a career in singing and television, releasing her debut album in 2002. Although she didn't achieve the same massive success as Ozzy, Kelly carved out her own space in entertainment. She appeared on shows like Dancing with the Stars and worked as a fashion commentator, all while maintaining her connection to her father's legacy. One of the most touching moments that symbolized their relationship came in 2003, when Kelly joined Ozzy for a duet of Changes, a Black Sabbath song originally released in 1972. Their version brought a new emotional weight to the lyrics, reflecting their personal bond as father and daughter. The song reached #1 on the UK charts and introduced Ozzy's music to a new generation. It was a reminder that beneath the chaos, there was genuine love and respect. The Osbourne show ended after 4 seasons, but its impact lasted. Suddenly, Ozzy was no longer just a rock icon. He was a family man, a father navigating challenges, and someone viewers could relate to. Kelly, too, had grown from the awkward teenager on the screen to a confident woman with her own voice. However, the show also highlighted the pressures of fame on the family. Kelly's struggles with addiction and mental health were sometimes visible, and Ozzy's own challenges with substance abuse remained a shadow over their lives. The cameras captured moments of conflict, but also healing. The family's journey wasn't perfect, but it was real. The early 2000s marked a turning point. Ozzy's music career slowed as he focused more on his family and other projects, but his influence never waned. Kelly's role grew beyond daughter and performer. She became an advocate, openly discussing mental health, body image, and her experiences growing up in the spotlight. Their relationship deepened as they faced life's ups and downs together. Behind the scenes, Kelly was more than just a daughter. She was a caretaker, a protector, and at times the voice of reason for her aging father. They shared more than music. They shared memories, struggles, and a fierce loyalty. As the years went on, Ozzy's health would begin to decline, a reality that Kelly faced with increasing concern. But the bond forged in the spotlight and strengthened through music remained unbreakable. The world saw them on stage and screen, but it was in private moments that their true connection shone brightest. Kelly's presence beside Ozzy was not just symbolic, it was essential. She became his anchor, the family's shield against rumors and false reports, and the keeper of his legacy. Their shared experiences, both public and private, set the stage for the difficult days to come. Ozzy's health decline. As the years rolled into the 2000s and 10s and beyond, Ozzy Osbourne's life took on a different rhythm. The wild, unstoppable rocker of decades past was still there, but now shadows of illness and age began to cloud his once boundless energy. Fans watched as Ozzy's public appearances grew fewer and his movements slowed. The reality was harsh. The Prince of Darkness was fighting an intense private battle against his own body. Ozzy was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, a progressive nervous system disorder that affects movement. Though the family initially kept the diagnosis private, it explained many of the changes fans noticed: the trembling hands, the difficulty walking, and a fatigue that seemed to weigh heavier with each passing year. Parkinson's is unpredictable, and its toll on Ozzy's health was significant. The diagnosis was not the first health scare Ozzy had faced. In 2003, a serious ATV accident had left him with a fractured skull, further complicating his condition. Over the years, he underwent multiple surgeries and treatments to manage both the effects of Parkinson's and injuries sustained from accidents. The injuries and illnesses sometimes made even basic tasks challenging. Kelly, as the closest family member, became a fierce protector during this time. She watched her father's strength wane and became increasingly involved in caring for him. She often spoke publicly about the importance of respecting Ozzy's privacy, especially when rumors and false reports spread on social media. Some online videos and posts suggested Ozzy was on his deathbed well before his actual passing, which deeply upset Kelly and the family. Despite his condition, Ozzy continued to push forward. He made a few limited appearances and even performed sporadically, determined not to let Parkinson's define him. But those close to him knew the truth. Each day was a struggle. Ozzy had never been one to ask for sympathy, but the disease was relentless. The family's approach to Ozzy's health was both practical and protective. Sharon managed medical decisions, while Kelly often acted as the family's spokesperson, gently pushing back against misinformation. The Osbournes understood the spotlight's glare could be harsh and intrusive, especially during such a vulnerable time. In the final months leading up to Ozzy's death, Kelly posted videos showing intimate, quiet moments at their home. One of the last clips shared publicly featured Ozzy in a calm, tender moment, greeted by Kelly in the morning. These glimpses offered fans a rare look at the man behind the legend, a father, husband, and grandfather facing the inevitable decline with dignity. The public response to Ozzy's health struggles was mixed. While many expressed support and admiration for his resilience, others were quick to speculate or sensationalize. Kelly's repeated clarifications emphasized the need for respect and truth. As Ozzy's condition worsened, the family began preparing for what no one wanted to say aloud. The time to say goodbye was drawing near. Ozzy's final public performances carried a bittersweet tone. His farewell with Black Sabbath at Villa Park in Birmingham, his hometown, was both triumphant and heavy with emotion. Surrounded by family and friends, Ozzy took the stage one last time with the band that started it all. The event was a testament to a life spent making music and connecting with millions. Behind the scenes, Kelly juggled grief, responsibility, and the weight of public expectation. At 40 years old, she was no longer just the daughter of a rock star. She had become his voice, his advocate, and ultimately, the keeper of his memory. A daughter's final goodbye. When Ozzy Osbourne passed away on July 26, 1925, the world mourned a legend. But for Kelly Osbourne, his daughter and closest companion, the loss was deeply personal. A heartbreak that spilled over into public view. At 40 years old, Kelly found herself not only grieving, but also stepping into a role few could imagine. The voice of her father's final days. At 40, Ozzy Osbourne's daughter breaks down in tears during his tragic final days. Close friends to the family said that Kelly couldn't speak with anyone in the first 24 hours. She only said, "I cannot let him go. Not yet." Just 2 days after Ozzy's passing, Kelly recovered a bit and took to Instagram, sharing a heartfelt tribute that left many fans reaching for tissues. Her words were simple but powerful, quoting the lyrics of Changes, the iconic Black Sabbath song Ozzy and Kelly had recorded as a duet in 2003. "I feel unhappy. I am so sad. I lost the best friend I ever had." It was a message that spoke volumes, revealing the depth of their bond beyond the spotlight and music. The tribute wasn't just about sorrow. It was a reflection of the unique relationship they shared, one filled with music, laughter, challenges, and love. The song Changes had become a symbol for them, a way to express emotions that were often hard to put into words. Through that song, Kelly honored not only Ozzy's legacy, but their intimate connection as father and daughter. In the days leading up to Ozzy's death, Kelly had also faced a different kind of against misinformation. Viral videos surfaced online, falsely claiming Ozzy was on his deathbed. Some used AI technology to fabricate videos that looked disturbingly real. Kelly was quick to respond, clarifying that while her father was struggling with Parkinson's and his mobility had changed, he was not dying at that time. She condemned the creators of the misleading content, emphasizing the importance of protecting her father's privacy and dignity. Kelly's defense of Ozzy during those days showed the fierce love and loyalty that had grown over decades. She was determined to shield him from rumors and sensationalism, even as she prepared herself and the family for the inevitable. The final farewell came with a sense of quiet dignity. At Ozzy's funeral in Birmingham, Kelly stood alongside her family, wearing his signature round wire-rim sunglasses, an iconic symbol of the man they all loved. The funeral was not a somber, mournful event, but a celebration of Ozzy's life and wishes. The family wanted to honor his spirit, chaotic, rebellious, but full of heart. Kelly spoke openly about the challenge of watching her parents age and the difficulty of seeing them decline in health. She expressed gratitude for the time they had together and for the opportunity to guide and support them through the toughest moments. Her words revealed a deep strength born from love and loss. The public saw Ozzy as a rock god, a figure larger than life. But Kelly's tribute reminded everyone that behind the legend was a man, a father who was her best friend, a husband, and a beloved family member. Her tears were not just for the star the world knew, but for the father who had shaped her life. Music, memory, and what comes next. Ozzy Osbourne's passing left a profound silence in the music world, but his legacy is anything but quiet. As fans, fellow musicians, and family members reflected on his life, it became clear that Ozzy's influence extends far beyond his unmistakable voice or the pioneering sound of Black Sabbath. It lives on in countless ways, in music, culture, and the hearts of those who loved him. Following the funeral in Birmingham, tributes poured in from around the globe. Artists across genres, rock, pop and beyond paid homage. One particularly moving moment came when Coldplay performed a stripped-back version of Changes during a concert in Nashville, reminding the world of the song's timeless resonance. Ozzy's influence had shaped not just heavy metal, but music history itself. For Kelly Osbourne, the days after her father's death were a delicate balance of mourning and moving forward. She stepped up to protect his legacy, working closely with the family to share memories and address the media with honesty and grace. Kelly's role as a custodian of Ozzy's memory felt natural. Their bond had always been one of trust and openness. The Osbourne family faced the challenge of navigating public grief while preserving private healing. Sharon, Kelly, Amy, and Jack each carried their own weight of loss, but together they remained united. The family made it clear that Ozzy's life should be celebrated, not just mourned, and they planned to honor his wishes for joyful remembrance. Ozzy's story is also a reminder of resilience. Despite decades of health battles and personal struggles, he never lost his passion or connection to his fans. His ability to reinvent himself, to face adversity with a stubborn spirit, is part of what makes his legacy so enduring. The Osbourne name remains a powerful symbol in rock music and pop culture. Ozzy's children, especially Kelly and Jack, have embraced their roles as heirs to his legacy, balancing their own careers with the responsibility of honoring their father's memory. What will you miss the most about Ozzy?